everyone. Today I will be speaking about social anxiety. Every day we are trying to share science-based psychology on my YouTube channel, and today we will be discussing about social anxiety that is quite commonly seen in university and college students, and we will be discussing about strategies you can use if you want to support your child, your kids, your teenagers, or yourself from symptoms of social anxiety, and we will be discussing how to understand why people are experiencing social anxiety, why is it important for you, and how to take small steps even in the presence of social anxiety, and how to live your full potential and how to succeed even if you're experiencing symptoms of social anxiety. So, what is social anxiety in academic settings? Social anxiety involves intense fear of negative evaluation in social situations, often with avoiding social interactions. And if you are experiencing these symptoms, maybe you can try to notice your thoughts. What thoughts you have when you are trying to avoid social situations? What your mind is telling you, and oftentimes you would notice that not every thought we have has to be real or reflecting reality, and oftentimes this becomes the point where people feel more relieved, and this becomes the point that stops anxiety, decreases anxiety. If anxiety is driven because of these thoughts, automatic thoughts. And in the students, it can be related with fear of class participation, sharing their ideas, especially if they have history of being bullied, and if in the past they had some negative experiences, it can be more challenging to be courageous and to start participating in the class. And there can be, for instance, presentation anxiety. Students might be afraid that they would be judged by peers or by teachers, or they might be questioning their worth. And there can be peer relationship anxiety, being found uninterested, awkward, or not good enough. And I'm noticing that it's especially commonly seen in Canada with newcomers, when students just trying to adapt to new culture, and in countries where there are a lot of cultures, religions, and nationalities living in one place. And there can be networking, professional relationship anxiety, particularly for high achieving students who fear not to living up to perceived expectations. And if, for instance, during performances, or if they are preparing for certain presentations or preparing projects, even if they know that they have a lot of skills and they have a lot of capabilities, they still might be experiencing social anxiety. So in psychotherapy, we are trying to understand what causes it, and we are asking the people, students, some questions that help them to understand what causes social anxiety, why they are experiencing it, and afterwards we are finding why is it important for them to present, for instance, or to be in social situations. And once they get motivated and understand their why, we are starting to work with their feelings, with their thoughts, and eventually they are able to succeed even in the presence of social anxiety. I have a lot of examples, students who were hesitating to speak in public. After working, they were able to succeed and become very successful in their speeches, in their presentations. And for high achieving students, social anxiety carries an additional burden because perceived high expectations, maybe their parents or people around them expect them to perform well, and this can be causing anxiety. And maybe apart from fear from performing, there can be a fear of disappointing others, or fear of making others sad, and so there can be different reasons, and it's important to understand what's exactly causing social anxiety. And this would create performance demand in social situations that most people do not face. And avoidance spiral. Social anxiety leads to social avoidance. I oftentimes see see that if, for instance, you are experiencing internal uncomfortable feelings such as fear, anxiety, or uncomfortable thoughts when you are entering social situations, and automatically what your mind would do is it would try to keep you away from this situation. So oftentimes people stop attending events or stop attending places, crowded places. As a result, their brain learns that this situation might be dangerous if someone is avoiding, and even if there is no real danger or threat. So over time this becomes as a habit. Anytime when you see social situations, crowded places, people start to avoid, and this causes an automatic reaction, automatic behavior. And if a person doesn't notice this, that there is no real threat, it's difficult to break the cycle. So in psychotherapy, we are helping the people to realize these behaviors that are not serving them, and we are helping the people to understand what they would like to experience instead. For instance, when they are coming into the room and asking and saying, I don't like, social anxiety is disturbing me. So we are asking different questions and helping the people to understand what they would like instead. So if they were not feeling anxious, what they would like to feel instead. Some people are saying they would like to be more confident, concentrated, or focused, or motivated, disciplined, or more socially active. And then we are helping the person to better describe how this version of them might look like, and to better understand their goals. And we are setting their hopes, their goals together. After what we are cooperating and working together in achieving these goals. And so, for instance, imagine arriving at work one morning and you walk towards the coffee machine, and as you approach, you notice it's making an unusual noise. And maybe it's clicking, maybe there is an error, and maybe some people will feel afraid that it will explode. And in the first scenario, every time that machine makes a noise, everyone in the office immediately assumes something terrible is going to happen. And maybe meetings will be cancelled, and people would panic, and work would stop, and entire day becomes organized around the noise. And in the second scenario, imagine if the same error has happened and a coffee machine is making some strange noises, but if people can stay calm and just assume that there is something wrong with the machine and it can be fixed, and they still might continue to do what matters, and maybe machine would still make noise and they can continue working. And many people unknowingly treat anxiety the same way as if they are treating this coffee machine. If in the first scenario it caused a lot of trouble and people couldn't continue with their work, in the second scenario they were able to notice the noise, that there is just something, the machine is trying to inform us that there is something wrong that needs to be fixed, and they still continue to do their work. And in the same manner, imagine as if anxiety and your thoughts are like coffee machine, and sometimes they can make some errors in the form of thoughts. And while trying to warn you for possible troubles or difficulties that you might experience, maybe the machine would like, if you accept these warns as just information, you still can continue to do what's important for you, because you understand that there is nothing dangerous, that coffee machine is making some noise. But if you will get fully fused with the science, and if you will scared, it will be difficult for you to focus on your work, on your studies. So in a sense, in psychotherapy, we are helping the people to notice their thoughts and to react to them, to respond to them just as thoughts and not the literal truth. And this becomes the freeing point where people become more psychologically flexible, and they can better and easier take steps towards the life that they want, towards the version of themselves they want to become, without feeling stuck in these uncomfortable thoughts or feelings or social anxiety or whatever their minds are telling them. And each time when you notice some thoughts while you're anxious, for instance, maybe you have some thoughts that you will embarrass yourself, And you can, instead of fully believing what your mind tells you, you can ask yourself, what would be a way of useful way of responding to these thoughts? And maybe you can notice and say, this is an interesting prediction, and your mind would say you are not ready, and you can notice there is this story again. So saying this out loud would help you to notice that this is just thoughts, and your anxiety will not increase, and you can still intentionally shift your attention towards what you were doing at that point and what's important for you. For instance, if you have some thoughts while you are trying to present, instead of focusing on these thoughts, you can slowly shift your attention towards the content, what you are trying to explain, and how you can explain it in a manner that people would understand it better, and this would be useful for them, and how they can use it in their lives. So when you, even if you cannot control the initial automatic thoughts, we can learn how to redirect our attention towards what matters. And to be able to do this, it's important to understand your why. Like, for instance, if you constantly experience social anxiety in, like, during presentations or while interacting with people, which steps are you going to take and how you are reacting normally? For instance, maybe you have some thoughts that you cannot perform well, you cannot speak well, or you cannot communicate your ideas. And if you start to believe these thoughts, you might have high anxiety or fears, and this might impact your behavior, and maybe you would like to distract yourself or avoid these situations or do anything that would numb these feelings. Or if you have realized that this is not being helpful for you, you can decide for yourself what you can do instead. So instead of distracting yourself or avoiding situations, how you would like to respond to this. And in this sense, meditation, mindfulness, or being able to observe your thoughts, your feelings is becoming a space where you can choose your behavior, redirect your attention, notice what's happening in the present moment. If, for instance, you have challenges with social anxiety while you are speaking to people, you can try to ground yourself in present moment, and it's quite normal if you missed something. You can always ask, can you please repeat it again for the person who is speaking with you at that moment? Or you can try to paraphrase what the person was trying to tell you and ask them, did I understand you correctly? This is another strategy you can use. And it's quite normal for people to experience social anxiety. According to research, there are a lot of people, high achievers, who are experiencing anxiety, around 70% of people. This means that being anxious is not something wrong. It doesn't say that this is something wrong with you. It just says that you care about your performance, you care about connection, you care about confident version of you, or you want to contribute, you want to do your work well, and therefore normalizing these feelings. If, for instance, you are trying to support your child or kid or teen, normalizing their feelings and letting them know that everyone is experiencing social anxiety or any forms of anxiety in certain points of their life, and this is quite normal. This is a way of being human, and anyone can learn by time using different strategies to regulate their emotions and to succeed even despite these uncomfortable feelings or thoughts that you might have. And generally, these feelings and automatic thoughts, our brain was designed in order to protect us from possible threats, from dangers, and especially in ancient times when people were living under more difficult conditions in the forests, in the deserts, their brain was designed to keep them safe from possible dangers, and therefore most of our thoughts are negative. Around 70% of our thoughts are negative, and this was designed in order to keep us safe. However, sometimes it's not being useful for us if anxiety, for instance, very strong, and if it becomes a barrier for you to daily function, or you cannot function effectively, you can receive the support of psychotherapy, or you can refer yourself to a family doctor, where psychotherapy or medications might help you to overcome these challenges and to learn to act even in the presence of anxiety. So why anxiety is not always useful is because when we constantly start to avoid things that matter for us, we can find ourselves in a quite small place where we stop doing things that we used to enjoy, or we stop pursuing our dreams or things that are important for us. And if we constantly avoiding and trying to hide or suppress our feelings, it can be a challenge for you, because it will be difficult for you to live your life fully. And therefore, at that point, it's important to work with your thoughts, with your feelings, and to understand what you really want to be instead, and to remind yourself about instances when you performed well despite social anxiety. And for instance, confident version of you, or focused, concentrated, calm version of you, kind version of you when you were experiencing social anxiety, and what helped you to achieve this outcome. How did you do that? What was there about you that helped you to achieve this? And which environments, which people, what motivation helped you to achieve? And thinking about past, when you were most calm, when you were most confident, even if there was stress, you can find out a lot of capabilities, qualities, features that you might use for your future life. So anytime when you are noticing any thoughts that might come up when you feel anxious, this becomes the point that where everything is changing, because you are no longer inside of the thought, and you realize that you are not anxiety, you are not your thoughts, you are not failure, and you are not going to fail everything. And you are observing the thought, and you are understanding that you are the one who is experiencing some feelings, and feelings are coming and going as the clouds in the sky. And there is a part of you that notices anxiety, and there were a lot of versions of you when you felt calm, you felt confident, when you succeeded, and paying attention to those versions of you where you had success. And maybe, for instance, if anxiety is showing up in your career, there were confident version of you in your parenting, for instance, or as a student version. And you can take those resources and qualities that helped you to succeed and carry them into your current challenges, into your current version. And understanding why, for instance, public speaking, or why being around people is important for you. Some people, they say that they value connection, contribution, that some people are saying it's important because they want to learn new things, because they want to grow, to develop new skills. And some people are noticing that it's important to care for their kids, that's why it's important to be around people. So understanding your why is it important for you, would help you to motivate and to find your own solutions for you to overcome these challenges. And nobody can guarantee you that anxiety will be gone completely, or you will never experience anxiety again, because anyone is experiencing anxiety. And accepting this, we can try to decide what kind of person do I want to be while anxiety is here. And maybe you want to be courageous, maybe you want to be kind, professional, curious. And then while the coffee machine continues making whatever noise it wants to make, you take the next small step that's important. And maybe you will make a phone call, maybe you will attend the meeting, maybe you will share your ideas and submit application. Because confidence often doesn't arrive before action. Oftentimes people start to feel confident after taking action. And also considering going into the future, and oftentimes problems that we think are so serious or so dramatic, or oftentimes they are exaggerated. And when you consider them from the future, will it still be that important what I'm thinking about right now? In 5 years, 10 years, you would realize that it won't be so much important for you. For instance, what other people would think while you are speaking. Will they judge you for evaluation? And oftentimes you would notice that you are stuck in the small part of the story, and when you look at the bigger picture, it's more important to succeed in your studies, to learn skills that you are trying to learn. And when you look at from this bigger picture, at the end of the day, you will be more open to what suffering or any emotions that are coming up while you are trying to achieve your goals. And maybe you have some thoughts that they think I'm awkward, and this thought feels like a fact when you don't share it with anyone, and if you don't notice that this is a thought. And when you are able to say that I'm having the thought that they think I'm awkward, research consistently shows that we dramatically overestimate how negatively others evaluate us. And also, according to another research, when people were too focused on themselves and they were thinking that they didn't perform well according to other people's evaluation, they actually found that they performed well. So oftentimes we are exaggerating, and this again, this anxiety is becoming as a protective factor for us to perform better, to have better connections, to make less mistakes. But when we are overly focused on anxiety or negative thoughts that come up with them, it can be difficult simultaneously to focus on your performance, on your skills and anxiety. Therefore, anytime when you would notice anxiety, you can intentionally redirect your attention, your energy, your efforts towards your work. For instance, when during the interactions, if you have social anxiety, another strategy is to become curious about the person, to learn what they like, what they enjoy, to learn more about them, or to try to understand them better. And anytime when your mind will try to pull attention towards you or your performance or your communication, you can again redirect your attention towards the other person or what the other person is communicating or trying to understand them. And also, if you are constantly being trying to pull anxiety, to suppress anxiety, to distract yourself, you also might be losing a lot of energy and time and efforts on the fight with anxiety, whereas you could focus your attention, your energy, your efforts on what's important for you. If you value love, for instance, contribution, kindness, knowledge, you can direct your attention and efforts towards the things that you care about. And each time when anxiety will try to pull your attention towards what might go wrong, you can act from the lens, from perspective of love, kindness, or contribution, or whatever is important for you at that point. And this would be a better, wiser way of using your time. And when have you felt comfortable and genuinely connected socially, even briefly? Who was there with you at that time? What made this possible? And what were you doing? What were you talking about? This exception contains conditions for more connections. And who were you during that time when you were interacting with that person? Which version of you was present there? And according to Stanford research, even brief social belonging interventions, for instance, short message conveying that belonging, might considerably decrease anxiety and would help the person to realize that difficulties are normal and temporary, and many people are carrying the same fears, the same anxiety, difficulties, and that you are not alone. And carrying these difficulties is a part of being human. And this was helped to significantly improve academic performance and well-being for first-generation college students over multiple years. Therefore, the need for belonging is profound, and its impact reaches beyond social comfort. And in the psychotherapy, if we are using acceptance commitment approach, we are helping the person to stay present with their feelings, to notice their thoughts, feelings, and to decide where they want to go, what they want to do, even in the presence of these feelings. We are helping to understand what's important for them, and to take small steps, the smallest steps possible, even in the presence of uncomfortable feelings. For instance, where do you usually experience social anxiety, and how you are reacting to this, and how you would like to respond instead? if you want, you can set a goal for yourself anytime when you will have social anxiety experience. Set a small goal for this week or for this day, the smallest act that you can do. Maybe it's asking a question during the class, even when you don't feel comfortable asking. Maybe it's a short walk with your friend or with your pet, and each small step is committed action in the service of what's important for you and in the service of connection. And also, research have found that people in social situations dramatically overestimate how much others are focused on their performance, on them. Whereas, as we have already mentioned, that most people are more concerned about their own anxiety, about their own problems and performance, leaving very little attention for judging you. And you are the observer of social anxiety. You're not anxiety, you're not your feelings, you're not your thoughts, and not the socially anxious person others see. So stepping back and realizing your thoughts, your feelings, and rigid sense of self, for instance. Also during the times when you are anxious, the most anxious are the times when probably you are fixed on yourself, you fix your attention on your eternal worth or on yourself, or just on one version of you. And when you expand this sense of self, this would create a more freedom and relief for you, and will help you to remind about your resources that are available or about your qualities that you can use during these struggles. And the paradox of social anxiety is that when you are trying too hard to make a good impression, this might cause awkwardness being feared, and again, genuine curiosity or noticing which perspective are you focused on. Are you looking from the lens of fear, anxiety, or anything else? And changing your perspective can be another strategy to soften anxiety, to decrease anxiety, and to focus on your work. And university and school social environments are particularly anxiety producing because everyone is simultaneously new, uncertain, and performing competence, especially when students are entering any new classes, new courses, new environments. Social anxiety might increase. And many students also can be buffering these feelings, and they might look less socially anxious than they appear, but this suppression also might be backfiring, because when you are trying not to feel, or when you are trying not to experience anxiety, this can be making even more pressure on them. Therefore, speaking openly about it, if they are willing to speak, asking them how was your day, what challenges are you experiencing, trying to initiate conversations and sharing about your challenges, or listening to your kids or teens or friends who are experiencing anxiety can be another strategy to support them, because if you are able to share your feelings, you can understand yourself better, and this becomes a point of relief and relaxation. This week, try to take one smallest action that you would like to take in the service of what's important for you. And maybe it can be one genuine comment, maybe a short walk, maybe a conversation with someone new. And this should be slightly outside your comfort zone, but not very challenging, because if you will set very big goals or expectations for yourself, and if you cannot achieve it, this might create also extra stress or anxiety. Therefore, we are starting from taking small steps, and the person should be willing to experience anxiety, to bear anxiety, and slowly increasing the difficulties or goals can be a good way that we are using in psychotherapy. And if we are using another approach called social focused brief therapy, we are not setting any assignments for students or for people who are coming to therapy. We are simply helping the person to understand what they want and to describe how they will achieve it, and we are leaving it there. And if the person is not demanding or asking for assignment, we are not giving any assignments. And there is another last research that was conducted that is related with belonging affirmation. Research supports that while writing briefly about your belonging to an academic community, your genuine reasons for being at school, or your interests, your contributions can considerably decrease social anxiety levels because you will be focused on your why, and there will be less place left for worries, stress, or fears. And this belonging affirmation practiced regularly can significantly reduce belonging uncertainty. And oftentimes people find themselves asking, do I really belong here? And this is quite normal. And maybe you also have some thoughts that maybe everyone else knows what they are doing except me, and sometimes even, especially in new environments, you might be experiencing anxiety even more. But what's interesting from social focus perspective is that instead of debating these questions, we look for the evidence. What tells you that you already belong here, even a little? Maybe you attended a lecture today, maybe you completed an assignment, maybe you asked a question. Where exactly did you already feel that you were belonging, and what contributed for this? What helped you to feel belonging? And which values were there when you felt connected, when you feel that you were belonging? So these questions can help you to understand what helps you to connect, what helps you to belong. And this may be seen small, but they are signs of participation, and participation is evidence of belonging. So belonging affirmation is not about writing, I belong here because I said so. It's about writing down about real observations. For instance, asking yourself, why am I here? What interests me about this subject or about this task, about this work? What strengths do I bring? What contribution do I make, however small? And asking yourself these questions will help you to look from a bigger picture. And if you are in a negative thoughts loop, you are more focused just on the problems. This will help you to open doors for opportunities, for new perspectives, and new ways of viewing situation and acting even in the presence of uncomfortable feelings and thoughts. So notice how different that feels. We're not trying to create belonging from nothing, but we are helping the person to understand what's already present and giving them more attention. And suppose, for instance, that you already started to feel confident, calm, or curious, or focused, or you already started to be a version of you that you want to be. How would you know that you're already being that version? What would let you know that you are already living that life? What would be the first signs that you are slowly approaching that version of you? And maybe you would speak up in class, maybe you would recognize more faces, maybe you would feel slightly less stressed. And which of these signs is already happening even a little? And where you have experienced these moments where you were closest to your preferred version, and what helped you to achieve this? How did you achieve this outcome? So, to help yourself notice the evidence that you are already becoming part of community, one small step at a time. And maybe it's difficult for you to understand some things that I'm explaining here. I'm trying to explain them as simple as possible. But if you still have questions, please welcome to ask me. I will be always glad to answer your questions. And there were some questions that you previously sent. First of them, I'm extremely lonely at university, but social situations exhaust me. What can I do? This is the social anxiety paradox that many people are experiencing. On one hand, a person would want connection while finding the pursuit of it exhausting. And from acceptance commitment therapy approach, slowly taking smaller steps that you can take, not setting too big goals, can be a formula for it, and slowly exposing yourself to uncomfortable situations every day can be a formula. And being compassionate towards yourself. Sometimes we are being too self-critical or harsh and having too high expectations for ourselves, and this can be the point where we can be kinder to ourselves and take smaller steps that we can. And slowly I'm noticing in students that when they start taking steps, when they slowly expose themselves to social situations, they start to enjoy it and they gain confidence and they realize that there are a lot of capabilities and qualities that they already have and they can use. And this generally creates more motivation, inspiration. And another question is, I had friends before university and feel like I have lost my social ability. It's again, your mind is telling this and there is no evidence of it. New social environments can be harder than established ones, and especially if you have moved into different environments, school or country, it may take time for you to adapt to that environment. And the social scripts that worked before do not automatically transfer. And it's not a loss of ability, it's normal challenge of social rebuilding in a new context. And being patient with yourself and thinking, considering which strategies, which habits, environments, or people, social supports you can use, and slowly encouraging yourself to expose yourself to situations would help you to realize that you haven't forgotten any abilities or skills. They are still there, they are still present. Yet just your brain needs some time to adapt, and it needs new conditions to express itself. So mainly we covered a lot of thoughts and strategies today. We spoke about all 6 parts of hexaflex and how we are working in psychotherapy using acceptance commitment therapy, and we also mentioned a lot of questions that we are using in the sessions using solution focused brief therapy. If you want to learn more about these topics or if you need more support, you are welcome to come to psychotherapy or leave your questions in the comments. I hope that this session was helpful for you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming. Take good care of yourself and see you in the next sessions again.